I believe that you love who you love. You have that right to make that decision. What your preferences should not matter to anyone else.
People should have the freedom to choose who they want to love.
I don't feel weird about it. It's fine with me. If that's the way you roll, it's fine with me.
I think everyone's entitled to their own feelings and beliefs.
Okay, that's a touchy subject. However, the church has become a little more lenient, not so much in accepting homosexuality, but in making sure that the Catholic Church is a welcoming church. So we invite everyone to come to church and participate in our services. However, homosexuality in itself is not a sin. It only becomes a sin if one participates in a sexual act. So I think that's a point that needs to be clarified because people get very confused. But above all, we should not be judgmental. So whether we know the person is homosexual or not, we greet them with open arms. The church is open to all. They use their conscience if they're going to receive the Eucharist. Who am I to judge? As Pope Francis keeps reminding us that let's leave the judging up to God.
I feel like society is against homosexuality just because it's something very different and uncanny to many people. In comparison to homosexuality, premarital sex is more acceptable to our society because I think it's more common for nowadays for people to go into marriage having had sex with multiple partners. I feel like to change people's views about homosexuality, you have to educate them. Like anything else you want to change, you have to educate people. Have some people who are actually homosexuals tell them how they feel, how they go through emotions and daily life, emotional activities, and you find many similarities with those of the heterosexuals, and many people will understand more if they can able to relate at that deeper level.
I believe society thinks homosexuality is bad or not as prevalent because probably the media and probably like dispositions to religion. It's a lot of people are Catholic and believe that like in the Bible it says it's not okay to be a homosexual or something. In comparison to homosexuality, I believe that premarital sex is more widely accepted because of like I said before, like media, like in movies and stuff, you see a lot of people having premarital sex, people hooking up, things like that. But homosexuality isn't so prevalent in movies and different TV shows and things like that. I think in order to educate more people on what homosexuality is and what it's like to be a homosexual, I think kind of taking a mile in their shoes and seeing like what it's like to be a negative target all the time. People degrading you with the words that they use. The different like, oh dude, you're so gay, like like stuff like that. I think if people really realized what their words actually meant and like what their actions actually meant to someone that was actually gay or homosexual, then I think that they would really understand like, wow, like that must be really tough.
Society, in my opinion, diminishes homosexuality. It really stresses the fact that you should have one dad and one mom. Compared to homosexuality, premarital sex is generally accepted by society, in my opinion, because like I said before, society kind of drills into our brain that we should have one mom and one dad, and I think that's what I guess society is telling us in everything we watch and everything we see. I think we can change people's view on homosexuality. Building off my last point about like the media and TV shows and movies, I think maybe there should be a lot more, I guess, homosexual characters in TV shows and movies to kind of get the point across that it is more morally acceptable to be a homosexual.
I believe that society generally views homosexuality in a negative light, mostly because it seems as though it's something that's uncommon to people. Most people grow up in families with a mother and a father, and that's just what they know. So anything outside of that seems to be uncommon and unknown to them. In comparison to homosexuality, I think that premarital sex is more accepted, probably because this media portrays it as being more accepted. Also, colleges and their environment tend to favor having premarital sex as something that's being cool and accepted by their peers. I think that with further education about homosexuality, people will become more tolerant of the homosexual community. Maybe speakers in younger grades such as middle school or high school or even colleges to help other people understand what it's like to be homosexual.
You always see it on like Twitter when a state passes a gay marriage law, and it's when it's signed into their books. Like you always see people celebrating, and everyone's really excited, and it really like generates like a positive atmosphere on social media. But it also can be negative because I find like a lot of times people use slurs to like insult people on social media, or like it's almost like it's under fire on like social media. Everyone just is, like that's what their go-to is. Like they always like insult people like using homophobic slurs. I was actually in class we were learning about how like discrimination laws and like where someone like if an employer knows like if someone is gay, like they might not hire them, but like they wouldn't even look at their credentials. Like some people just look at the sole fact that their sexual preference, which is like unfair.
I believe that homosexuality, when it comes to social media, is portrayed incorrectly. I think we see a lot of confusion between properly distincting between gender and sex. I believe that social media repels homosexual culture. I think a lot of the time what we see is if we don't acknowledge it doesn't exist, I think that's a big mistake. I think anybody that's considered a minority is at an unfair disadvantage. That's kind of what the basis behind minority means. And so in this case it'd be no different. Homosexuals, which do represent a minority, are definitely at a disadvantage.
I think that social media has definitely made it more publicized, but in a positive way. I think that different organizations are definitely able to get their word out there more, and it's definitely becoming a source of more information that I think will help the homosexual community maybe gain some ground in the public's eyes. Different events, I know, especially with like gay pride parades, I know that I see those all the time when they're happening on Facebook or Twitter. So I think that it's definitely well representing them, and I think that it's definitely not bringing any negative attention. As of right now, I think that they are at a disadvantage. I think that there's still a lot of judgment in different parts of the country and the globe.
While there is no clear scientific conclusion as to homosexual precursors, there are several hypotheses that have been come up with over the past recent years. One of the most widely accepted theories is gene acetylation. What occurs in gene acetylation is that we have these positively charged molecules called histones. It's around these molecules that the negatively charged DNA wraps itself. The thing is, if the DNA wraps itself too tightly, the transcription machinery can't fit in and the gene can no longer be expressed. Our body does to allow genes that are frequently expressed to be translated is that they add this negatively charged acetyl group to the histones. This causes the histones to lose affinity for the negatively charged DNA, allowing the DNA to uncoil itself somewhat so that that transcription machinery can fit in there and allow the gene to be expressed. Scientists believe this could be used to understand homosexuality is that acetylated genes are able to be passed down from parents to their offspring. This means if a certain gene is frequently used, it will become acetylated more every generation as it's passed down. Scientists believe that as males have transitioned from days of war and manual labor to more desk jobs and, in some cases, even taking on more feminine roles, that genes being acetylated, which are conventionally linked with female ideology, are being acetylated within men. There's another popular scientific theory that says that when mothers are under stress when they are pregnant, have more homosexual children, as the stress causes embryonic stem cells to have a different sensitivity to hormones, specifically androgens. Stem cells exhibit this resistance to androgens. While the male phenotype will still be present in the born child, other aspects, including the behavior and thought process, may be more female typical than expected. Another example supporting this was the high rate in homosexuality seen in men from pregnant mothers during World War II in Germany.